Hey everyone, and welcome back to Joey's Retro Newscast. It is Friday, so here's all of your retro gaming, retro handhelds, and gaming news. First things first, some housekeeping. I got 3 things to take care of. I want to give a shout out to 2 YouTube channels that just started. Just because it happened to me when I first started, I got some shout outs from some bigger channels, and I want to pay it back. The first is Backlog or Bin. Comes from a user on my Discord, and they are doing something extremely weird that I figure most people might be into, but they're going through their backlog of games, spending an hour on each game, and then deciding if that's going to be in their backlog to actually play. So if you want to go down that journey with Backlog or Bin, check them out. The next is Tea Time Retro. This guy's a very close friend of mine on the Discord. He's awesome. He is somebody who works in the gaming industry or did until recently. As you know, there's a lot of layoffs in the industry. And so he started a YouTube channel, and on it, he's talking about games. He is probably the person that plays the most games in the world that I know of and loves them. So we get along nicely because of that. But he just did a video on the best version of Disney's Aladdin. So Super Nintendo versus Genesis. However, because of who he is, he went and mastered every single version of Aladdin on Retro Achievements, just so he can talk about which version is the best. That's the type of guy he is. So if those channels sound good to you, you should go check them out. Last bit of news here, I promise, and then we'll jump into the actual news. I was on the Save State podcast last night, which is a great group of guys. So if you want to check me out, if you don't have enough content from me this week, and you're like, I need more Joey, then check out the Save State podcast. I will leave everything in the description for you to peruse and do whatever you want to do. Let's jump into the news. GameNative version 1.0.0 pre-release is now out. GameNative being the PC emulator on Android. Now with this comes Vulkan renderer, which is a nice big addition, because I guess previously it was OpenGL, which I didn't even know. They've updated the controller, they've changed or improved the lossless scaling, and there's a whole bunch of other things here too. Now, one big change here that you should be aware of is they plan on releasing for Play Store. So there is 2 builds for GameNative. There is the modern build and the legacy build. Modern is meant for the Play Store, and it is neutered. There's a few things missing there that you don't want to actually grab. Legacy is the proper version of GameNative. So, like how GameHub's Play Store version is neutered, you don't want the modern version of GameHub. You want the legacy version. So for anybody updating through Obtainium or through the website, make sure that you stick with the legacy version. Otherwise, there's quite a bit of other fixes and changes here and additions. One thing that they do say is there's a Steam Cloud fix for 2 Point Museum. I am hoping that fixes Vampire Survivors. I don't know if I'm the only one with this issue, but when you try and sync Vampire Survivors, it doesn't sync properly. I can't grab my saves from my normal Steam. Like, it grabs a save from like 4 or 5 years ago, and it's very weird. So I don't know if I'm the only one with this issue. That is one of the main issues I have with GameHub at the moment, or GameNative at the moment, is that for a few games, Vampire Survivors is the one off the top of my head, it doesn't sync saves properly for those games. But most games, it's fine. So anyways, check it out, 1.0.0. Not to be outdone, but GameHub version 6.0.6 is also out. With it comes new Steam friends and achievements, so you can chat, unlock notifications, invites, and party join. So that's pretty cool. They've added Steam Workshop and DLC management, custom install location and external Steam game imports. So it sounds like you can now put games on the SD card, which is pretty cool. And also they say EA game support, which I don't know what that means. I doubt they have EA launcher support, but I guess maybe some EA games can work, which is pretty cool. GameHub, like GameNative, is a PC emulator on Android, so check it out. Next up, we have Armada, which is a SteamOS Linux distribution for ARM handhelds, so like Android handhelds. So if you want SteamOS on Android devices, this will be what you're looking for. This comes from Virtue Dude, who is actually a supporter of my channel and has been for a long while. So it currently supports, or currently includes, ARM64 Steam, FEX for x64, CachyOS, game scope, and SD card boot support. So essentially, you load this onto your SD card, you put it onto an Android handheld, and you boot right into SteamOS. Current device support right now is the Ioneo Pocket Evo, Odin 2 Portal, Odin 2 Mini, and Odin 2. So if you have any of those devices and you've been wanting to check out SteamOS on Android or in an Android handheld, then you might want to check this out. The GitHub is linked and everything, so give it a try. RPCS3 has gotten an update, and now when you boot a game, it is using their database config. So it should be the known good files when you boot up a game, which is a nice change here. But the biggest thing here is visual improvements. So a lot of games have had things fixed for visuals, which is really cool. I saw that Ratchet and Clank, A Crack in Time, I want to say it was, has gotten some renders fixed and all of that, because I know that's one of the harder games to run or properly emulate at least. But anyways, RPCS3, the PS3 emulator on PC, has gotten some big updates. So if you want to play some PS3 games, there's no other way to play them besides RPCS3, and they're making some big additions here. So check it out. Not to be outdone, but the Xbox 360 emulator on PC, Xenia Canary, has also fixed rendering issues in 80 plus games according to them. I am not going to tell you or be able to tell you what all of this means, because this is where it's like NASA encoded words on this page as to what they did and how they did it. But the long story short of all of this is that they have improved rendering in about 80 games for Xbox 360 releases. Now I took a look. The two games that I actually play, which are Blue Dragon and Lost Odyssey, were not two of the games that were fixed. Although from both of those games, they've been pretty good on the rendering part. So I don't know if they actually need it. But like, there's 80 plus games, so you can't be angry with this at all. Either way, check it out. Xenia Canary is the best way to play 360 games on PC. Shad PS4, the PS4 emulator on PC, has gotten a new update to 0.16. With it comes a new configuration system. So they've simplified settings and game-specific configuration, things like that. OpenAL audio backend, which I guess is something better for audio. Local multiplayer support if you want it. There's a big picture mode, so you can have a console-like experience for controllers. Improved the Vulkan stability, and they've just made a whole bunch of changes here. I might have to update my guide on Shad PS4. This looks like it's a lot of updates and changes to probably the UI and more. I'm going to have to give this a try. Shad PS4 is way better than you would expect for a PS4 emulator. You wouldn't expect it to be as good as it is, but it is actually really good for playable games. So if you want to play PS4 games on PC, check out Shad PS4. Okay, so question of the week. It has been a year since the Switch 2 has launched. So everybody's making videos on the Switch 2 after a year. We're going to do this through Newscast. What are your thoughts on the Switch 2 after a year? For those of you that have it, what are your thoughts on it? For those of you that don't have it, why don't you have it? What's keeping you from buying the Switch 2? Now, of course, like always, I'm going to answer the same question. I have the Switch 2. I was one of the people that lined up for midnight to grab the Switch 2. That's how excited I was. But if you've been watching me, you know my thoughts on this. The actual handheld, I can't use. So the screen is exceptionally ghosty. And it's very much that it gets me a little bit nauseous and I can't play it in handheld mode. But also the ergonomics of it is atrocious. But Switch is known for that. The previous Switches, besides the Lite, were pretty bad to hold. Now I did buy the MOBA pads. That does fix the handheld ergonomics part of it, but it doesn't fix the screen. So while I can now hold the device in handheld mode, I can't play it in handheld mode, which means this has been relegated to a docked experience for me. I only use my Switch 2 docked. And that is completely opposite to the way that I used my Switch 1 throughout the entire time and Switch Lite and everything. So I don't play my Switch as often as I want to because I don't really play on the TV as much. But also, my main issue with the Switch 2 is the lack of games. The Switch 1 launch, I was never bored that entire year. There was game after game after game coming out for the Switch 1, exclusives that took up most of my time. The Switch 2, I played Bonanza, Pokemon ZA, which I didn't finish because I wasn't enjoying, and then Pokopia, which is probably going to be my game of the year at the current moment. But that's it. That's all for the entire year. So it's been not a great year for somebody who uses the Switch 2 as an exclusive machine. That's it. So my Switch 2, whenever an exclusive comes out, I go and play it. There's been not enough for the year for me. Obviously, that doesn't matter. Switch 2 is selling gangbusters. It's going to be the most selling console or one of the most selling consoles of all time, all of that sort of thing. But I'm talking about me specifically. As somebody who just uses it for exclusives, there was not enough there. So that's where I stand at the moment. I can't say that I like the Switch 2, but I was always going to buy it because I don't want to miss out on these games. So let me know in the comments, where do you stand and what are your thoughts on the Switch 2 currently? We talked last week about the MSI Claw 8 EX AI Plus, which is a hell of a name, but we finally have pricing and a release date. It is going to cost $1,700 for the MSI Claw 8 EX AI Plus. And it is also releasing June 23rd. That's all I got. I don't know who's going to buy this at $1,700. I don't think that's worth it. I think that the current benchmarks look good from what Intel has shown, but I'm going to wait on independent reviews like myself and whatever before I actually consider that to be real. I don't know. Are you excited about the MSI Claw? Are you going to buy one? At $1,700, that is a hell of a sell. When you look at the Z2 Extreme, Asus Xbox Ally X at $999 still, $700 more for this. I think my mind still goes back to the fact that when I bought my 1X player Apex, it was $1,600, and that destroys this in performance. So to pay more than what I paid before for a lesser handheld is not jiving for me at all. And plus, I kind of like AMD. Like I've used Intel handhelds. I don't find them to be that great. So for me, the exciting part of this is what is AMD going to do to combat this, which may be next year or whatever. But is there anybody that really needs this year? Could you wait the year for a better handheld and likely cheaper next year? I say likely, we don't know. I mean, we really don't know, but this could be the new norm. I mean, nobody knows. But I can't swallow $1,700 for this. That's where I'm at. As somebody who bought an Apex at $1,600, I can't swallow $1,700 for a lesser handheld. But maybe it's just me. Let me know what you think. Asus has announced a new PC handheld. It is called the Xbox Ally X20. And the biggest thing here, there's a lot of changes, but the biggest thing here is they are upgrading the screen. So it looks like it's using the Xbox Ally X's chassis. It's a little bit different, but pretty much that. With a 7.4-inch HDR OLED, 120 hertz VRR screen with up to 1400 nits of brightness. So it's insane. This is what I have been asking for from Asus for years, is what everybody's been asking for from Asus for years. 7.4 is perfect for me. I don't want to go huge on this. I don't want 8.8, any of that. They've also updated some internal parts like the cooling, which was already perfect on the Xbox Ally X, but they've improved that. They've added TMR joysticks, a convertible D-pad, so it goes from 4-way to 8-way, and some more other updates. But the biggest thing, obviously, is going to be the screen. However, this Xbox Ally X20 is only going to be sold bundled with some XR glasses. So that's all you can buy is a bundle, which you can imagine is likely going to be like $2,000 or something like that. So I think most people know that there's likely going to be another SKU, a non-limited edition SKU, that's just going to be black or white, coming out after non-bundle that you can buy. So let's talk based on that. What's the price going to be? $1,300, $1,400 maybe, if we go off of the current Xbox Ally X's price and add the additions here. You want to say it's going to be a $200 increase. It's probably not going to be. So $1,300, $1,400, let's say. That's still a tough sell, even for me. I love the Xbox Ally X. If I didn't have the Apex, I would have the Xbox Ally X. It was a great handheld. Having the screen upgrade is the perfect upgrade. I would be super happy. But is that enough? Like, would you buy this at $1,400 is my question. Probably not, because then you start to look at the $1,700 MSI Claw, which is ugly, but it is better performance-wise, or it should be. So it's a tough position. I go back to, for me personally, Asus has been the only one of these PC handheld companies that constantly does it right. The launch, the reviews, the stock, the pricing, the upgrades that they do every year, they always nail it in my mind. And so no matter what the other companies do, I always go back to that because I know that, like, as good as a Lenovo handheld looks, they're going to bungle the launch, the stock, the fan noise, all of that. So it never really matches for me. As good as an MSI looks, they're going to bungle the launch, the stock, the software, because MSI software is atrocious, and all of that. So at the end of the day, they might be doing some other things right. Lenovo might get the screen right. MSI might get some of the software right on as far as Intel goes, or XeSS and all of that. But I always go back to the one company that keeps doing it right every year, and it's Asus. And that might be an Asus shill. I don't really care. But they're the only ones that I keep buying or that I keep holding on to, that I keep praising because they get the cooling right, they get the fan noise right, they get the software right, they get the upgrades right. Everything gets right. So yeah, that is the only reason I could see myself stretching to buy this. But with an Apex, it doesn't fit into my current predicament or world, whatever words are hard on Friday. So let me know in the comments below. I'm going to guess a lot of people, this looks exciting. Would you buy this at $1,400 or $1,300? Let's go with those two numbers. Would you buy this at $1,300 or $1,400 if they sell a non-bundled version somewhere down the line? I want to know. Let me know in the comments. Did you know that Acer, along with announcing one of their Nitro Blaze handheld PC Predator, whatever it was called, is announcing a Nitro Blaze Link, which is meant to be a cloud streaming, PC streaming device. And it has 1 gigabyte of RAM. Okay, we're gonna go over this specs wise right now. It looks awful. The D-pad looks terrible and it looks pretty bad. But this is a Linux device meant for PC streaming. It has a 7-inch, 16x10, 1200p screen, 1 gigabyte of RAM, 18 gigabytes of internal storage, Wi-Fi 6. It is meant for sunshine or moonlight. That's what they say. USB-C charging, 15-watt power adapter, 464 grams. 464. To put that into perspective, the Odin 2 Portal is 420 grams from what I remember. So this is heavier than an Odin 2 Portal. Where is that weight coming from? I don't understand. This looks terrible. We don't have price. We don't know release date, none of that. But they are trying to make a G Cloud without making a G Cloud, is what they're doing. 1 gigabyte of RAM, even for streaming, is insane. You're insane. But yeah, that's what they're doing. So Acer's coming out with a G Cloud device. It's going to be bad. Next up, we talked about Anbernic's RG34XX SP last week and how some models are being delivered with 512 megabytes of RAM. Well, it gets worse than that. Apparently, a user on Reddit has done a teardown of their device, and it looks like newer devices are coming with DDR3 now. So they've also made a change from DDR4 to DDR3, which is causing problems with some custom firmware where you're not able to actually use that custom firmware because the RAM is different. This is a change that has not shown up on Anbernic's website or anywhere else. So it is an undocumented change. I have no idea what is going on at Anbernic, but I currently can't say that you should buy any of their H700 devices right now because you don't know what RAM you're getting, what size RAM you're getting, what device you're getting. Will it work with MEOS and Nully and all those custom firmwares? Who knows at this point? This is the kind of crap that you don't want to see. If you want to do these kind of changes, let everybody know. You don't make it hidden like this. That is scummy. It is sneaky. That is the kind of crap that makes you just look terrible, which none of this is going to matter. They're going to release an RG rotate and people will flock to that because whatever, it's Anbernic. But like, this is the kind of stuff that like you can't do in my mind, but they do, and they get away with it. So Anyways, long story short, be careful with any of the H700 devices you buy. If you're running into any issues flashing custom firmware, this could be the reason why. You might have gotten one of these devices that has been silently downgraded from DDR4 to DDR3 or 1 gigabyte to 512 megabytes or whatever's going on here. TrimUI has some new patent images out of a new handheld. It is a horizontal handheld. Looks a little weird. I don't know how to describe this, so I'm sorry, audio only listeners, but it is a bigger TrimUI Smart by quite a bit with like an angled back and weird looking controls. This is very hard for me to describe, but it looks like it's just going to be a horizontal type device. I would have to imagine maybe the TrimUI brick screen in the center of it, but I don't know. Otherwise, just imagine like a horizontal TrimUI brick and you're kind of close to it. But it looks weird. We don't have much information here off of just the pictures, so keep an eye on this. Last for device news of today, One X Player Apex has a white version coming out. I completely forgot that when they first announced the Apex, the very first picture they showed was of a white version. So it's been a while. It looks kind of ugly. It's not my kind of white. I would have liked the One X Fly white, which was really nice. Had some like blue accents and all of that. But they now have the white version on their website. So if you are going to buy a One X Player Apex and you like the white version instead, you can buy that now. Okay, and like I said last week, we voted on our games of the month. We have winners. The game of the month for this month is Little Big Planet for PSP. Our ROM hack of the month is Pokemon Emerald Rogue V2 for Game Boy Advance. And our game of the season currently is still Chrono Trigger until the end of this month. If those games sound good to you, you should come join the Discord. We're playing games. We're using these handhelds to play games. You can come join us. Speaking of games, our last news story of the day. Did you watch the State of Play this week? How many of you are PS5 owners and get excited about these things? I am always excited about new games for State of Play, the Xbox Showcase, the Summer Games Fest, which is today, a little bit after today's newscast, so it won't be in today's newscast. I get excited about all this, but the State of Play had a lot of games that I'm excited about. So let me give you my games that I saw from the showcase that I'm excited about. Obviously, Marvel's Wolverine. For anybody that saw it, you probably are excited. That looks awesome. It is a linear game, not an open world, which is even better. And it just looks like it is a gory Wolverine-ass game. That is exactly what I'm looking for. Cannot wait. It is September 15th is what they said for release date. Rayman Legends Untold, which is Rayman Legends, but remastered, better, all of that. And also you get Rayman Origins if you buy it. So it's an easy buy. This game is a $40 game. So I paid like 55 Canadian for this. Comes out October 1st. Looks awesome. I'm in for this. Next up is Bancho the Chef, which is Dave the Diver's Bancho, the samurai looking guy, and his own story. So like a prequel. I'm there for that. That's awesome. Kamuri was pretty cool. It's like a anime action RPG. I first thought this was going to be like a co-op, or it is co-op, but I first thought it was going to be like a PvP adventure type thing. And so I turned off my brain, but then they said it was an actual story, like you could play single player. It looked really cool. Kamuri is something that came out of nowhere, so I'm interested in it. Tomb Raider Legacy of Atlantis, that got delayed to February 12th now, but it's Tomb Raider, and it looked really good. I don't know. I haven't played a Tomb Raider game since the, Shadow of the Tomb Raider, that trilogy there. So it's been a very long time for me. I'm here for more Tomb Raider. Why not? The Lost Wild was awesome because it was dinosaurs. So it looked like it was like aliens, but dinosaurs. So it's a survival type game, it looked like, or maybe like a sneaking type game, but dinosaurs everywhere. If you want me to buy your game, you put dinosaurs in it. That's why I'm interested in it. Look good. Phantom Blade Zero looked okay. September 9th for that. It kind of gave me like Black Myth Wukong sort of vibes. And so I'm semi-interested in that. I'll give it a shot. Onimusha, Way of the Sword, has a demo out now, so you can go check that out. I haven't had a chance to look at it yet, but it looked pretty interesting. September 25th for that game. That is an action RPG from what it looks like. I've never played Onimusha games, so I'm interested in checking out the demo to see if it's something I like. Stuntman Hollywood, which apparently is a game that existed on PS2, or at least the Stuntman franchise existed on PS2. I've never heard of this before, but the trailer looked like it was you doing a whole bunch of stunts in different types of vehicles and things like that, which is interesting to me. At first, I thought it was like a Burnout Paradise or something like that, which gave me that vibe, but I'm all there for like a Stuntman type game. That's pretty cool. I'll check it out. Control Resonant, of course, September 24th. I liked Control. I didn't love Control like everybody else did, but I liked it enough to be like, yes, I would love more games like this. This looks awesome. I cannot wait. September 24th, more Control. So yeah. Until Dawn 2. This is probably one of my most anticipated on this list. I loved Until Dawn. The very first Until Dawn, before the remaster, all of that, was an exceptional experience. And it was, for anybody that doesn't know, it was like a Telltale-like game with AAA or AAA budget kind of behind it. And so they had really good actors, they had a really good story, it was a horror game, and it was awesome. Since then, Supermassive has made a lot of other games that haven't really come up to Until Dawn. And it looks like Until Dawn 2 is not going to be made by Supermassive, so it's made by a different studio, from my understanding. So the trailer looked interesting. It gave me Until Dawn vibes. I was on that before they even announced it. I was like, this is Until Dawn. So I'm very interested in it. But last is God of War Lofi? I don't know how to pronounce it. Lofi, however you want to say it. This is following Freya, or Kratos' wife, and Atreus' mother, after she technically dies and is in the underworld. And so this is following her adventure. So it's a parallel story to the God of War games. And I guess God of War 3 will probably have her in it, catching up to them. But I was on the fence about this. And then she picked up a sword and started slashing some enemies. And I was like, yep, I'm in. I love the God of War games, even though I have not finished Ragnarok yet, which I need to finish at this point. But I'm on board for this God of War game. It looks awesome. Story looks great. Huey from The Boys is voice acting a cube. You got me with this, so I'm interested in it. Summer Games Fest is in a few hours. What are your thoughts on the state of play? Did any of the games stand out to you? There is like a weird disconnect between retro game players and modern game players. Like it's like retro game players will only play retro and modern will only play modern, where I'm just like, give me games. It doesn't matter. I don't care what they are. So I'm in that boat. But let me know, what did you think about the state of play? And if you watched this after the Summer Games Fest, what did you think about that? That's going to be it for this one, because we have no Newscast questions this week. If you want to send in some questions, it's newscast@joeysretrohandhelds.com, or on the Discord, there's a Newscast channel. You can send them in through there. Otherwise, I appreciate you all for watching, and that's all from me, bitch, Switzerland.